The WNBA is literally shut down right now. No trades, no signings, no business at all. And it's not because of some external crisis. It's because the players' union just pulled the nuclear option and banned all contact between players and teams. The same union leaders who spent 2 years trying to erase Caitlin Clark from the league are now demanding $2.5 million max salaries while secretly building their own rival leagues. Breanna Stewart and Napheesa Collier are literally owners of competing basketball ventures while negotiating against the WNBA. The hypocrisy is insane. If the WNBA season is canceled, where do you think Caitlin Clark should play? Let us know down in the comments below.
By every passing day, things seem to be getting worse and worse between the WNBA and the Players Union. In what should have been a very exciting time as players, if they would have signed a new CBA, you'd have players jetting all over the place. You would have multiple expansion drafts and all this movement across the league. Fans would be getting excited about what their teams are going to look like. All this momentum. We talked about this.
The WNBA just finished the most successful 2 years in league history. Caitlin Clark brought millions of new fans through the doors. Arenas that used to sit half empty were suddenly selling out. Television ratings went through the roof. Corporate sponsors lined up to write massive checks. The league signed lucrative media deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars. Everything was working. Then the Players Union decided to blow it all up. On January 9th, they let the collective bargaining agreement expire without a deal. The league immediately froze all business operations. No free agency signings, no trades, no player movement at all. Teams can't even make qualifying offers to their own players. The entire system just stopped working.
The WNBA had all this momentum from Caitlin Clark, the growth of the league, new media rights deal, and even without a lockout and/or strike as of yet, this is damaging the league. Fans are exhausted with it. Fans are exhausted with the Players Union and how they're approaching this and how they're acting.
Here's what the union demanded that made ownership walk away from the table. They want a salary cap of $10.5 million per team. That's more than double what the league offered. They want maximum salaries of $2.5 million for individual players. The league's best offer was around $1.3 million, with potential to reach nearly $2 million over time. The union also demanded 30% of gross revenue, while the league countered with 70% of net revenue. These numbers don't even live in the same universe. The timing makes this whole situation absolutely ridiculous. Clark just delivered the biggest ratings boost in WNBA history. Attendance records fell every single week. New fans discovered the sport and fell in love with it. Corporate America finally took notice and started investing real money. The league was positioned to capitalize on unprecedented momentum and grow into something truly special.
Grab the superstar, the main attraction, Caitlin Clark, and let's start this league fresh. Get rid of all the old, bitter players that think they're entitled to something. Pay those 5 ladies and move on from scratch. People wouldn't notice the difference. Nobody would say to themselves, oh wow, the talent has really dropped off this year. Nobody's going to be saying that. In fact, they'll be saying, wow, it's real calm this season. There's not so much complaining and whining going on this season.
Instead, the union chose this exact moment to make impossible demands. Portland Fire and Toronto Tempo were supposed to join the league as expansion teams. Their expansion drafts are now on hold indefinitely. Nobody knows when these new franchises can actually start building rosters. Training camps face significant delays because teams can't finalize their player situations. Arenas are already booking other events for dates that were supposed to host WNBA games. The union leadership spent the last 2 years downplaying Clark's impact on the league. They consistently minimized her role in driving attendance and television ratings. Veterans and union representatives regularly dismissed the new fans Clark brought to the sport. They acted like the league's success happened despite Clark rather than because of her.
The WNBA and WNBPA have reached an agreement on a moratorium for league business. Sources tell ESPN, Ramona Shelburne, who is a NBA insider, this is necessary because the sides have failed to reach an agreement on a new CBA or extension by the January 9th deadline. This just broke. It didn't make sense for teams to be offering qualifying offers, core designations, or courting free agents until there was a new CBA.
Now those same union leaders demand massive salary increases that only became possible because of the revenue Clark generated. They want $2.5 million max contracts funded by the very fans they spent 2 years insulting. They're essentially asking Clark's fan base to pay premium prices while getting lectured about not being real basketball supporters. The moratorium isn't a temporary negotiating strategy. The union is holding the entire league hostage until they get exactly what they want. They're willing to sacrifice the biggest growth period in WNBA history to make a point about player compensation. The same people who tried to erase Clark from the conversation now expect her success to fund their retirement plans.
There's a lot of those players that don't give a rip about Unrivaled or about their business in Unrivaled. They want to play in the WNBA. Caitlin Clark's one of them. I'm just bringing that up. This is a disaster. It's officially a PR disaster for the league. Right after they started growing the league, this is officially bad.
Here's where things get really messy. Breanna, Stewart, and Napheesa Collier are supposed to represent WNBA players during these contract negotiations. They're union leaders fighting for better pay and working conditions. They sit across from league executives demanding millions more in salary cap space and player compensation. But they're also co-founders and owners of Unrivaled, a completely separate basketball league that directly competes with the WNBA. Let that sink in for a minute. The same people negotiating against the WNBA are building their own rival basketball operation. Stewart and Collier launched Unrivaled as a direct alternative to playing overseas during the WNBA off-season. They positioned themselves as innovative leaders creating new opportunities for women's basketball. They raised funding, secured venues, and recruited top talent to join their venture.
The players are bitter because they think that they're owed something that they haven't earned. The players are bitter. The players have things to lose. Well, not all of the players, but the players in the negotiating rooms. Breanna Stewart and Napheesa Collier. They would love it if WNBA folds.
The timeline tells you everything you need to know about their priorities. Stewart and Collier announced Unrivaled while simultaneously ramping up their roles as union voices in WNBA negotiations. They spent months developing their business model and securing investors for their own league. They recruited WNBA stars to play in their competition during contract talks with WNBA ownership. The overlap isn't coincidental. When you're supposed to be fighting for the WNBA's growth and success, you don't secretly build a competing platform. Stewart and Collier have financial incentives for their own league to succeed. Unrivaled benefits when the WNBA struggles or fails to meet player demands. Every dollar that doesn't go to WNBA salaries makes their alternative look more attractive to top players.
Unrivaled gets some players. Maybe that league turns to 5-on-5. They already see a future for Unrivaled. Breanna Stewart earlier this weekend said, oh man, it's so hard to compartmentalize. I mean, after the games, then I gotta go and take emails and phone calls and take places on this and take places on that. Wouldn't it just be easier if that league didn't exist anymore? That's what she's saying to herself.
The conflict runs deeper than just divided loyalties. Stewart and Collier need star players to make Unrivaled profitable. They need WNBA players frustrated with their current contracts and working conditions. They need the WNBA to look like an inadequate option compared to what they're building. A successful WNBA contract negotiation actually hurts their business interests. Fans started connecting these dots when Unrivaled kept getting promoted during the union's most aggressive negotiating periods. Social media lit up with questions about whether Stewart and Collier really wanted the WNBA to succeed. People noticed how their public statements seemed designed to create maximum conflict rather than find common ground with league ownership. The union's negotiating strategy makes perfect sense when you realize their leaders profit from failure. Stewart and Collier don't need the WNBA to thrive. They need it to fall short so players look elsewhere for better opportunities. They need the current system to appear broken so their alternative looks revolutionary.
No one cares about Unrivaled. No one cared about the playoffs. No one cared about the finals. Oh, but the ratings. Yeah, but the ratings were inflated. Nobody paid attention.
This explains why the union seems more interested in burning bridges than building relationships. Stewart and Collier aren't trying to improve the WNBA. They're positioning themselves as the solution when it doesn't work. They're sabotaging negotiations while offering players a backup plan that puts money directly in their own pockets. The union leadership isn't fighting for players. They're fighting for their own business venture that depends on the WNBA's struggles to attract talent and investment. The union demanding millions of dollars in salary increases spent 2 years systematically attacking the very fans who made those paychecks possible. Caitlin Clark brought unprecedented crowds to WNBA arenas. Television ratings exploded as millions of new viewers discovered the sport. Corporate sponsors finally saw value in women's basketball. Revenue streams that never existed before started flowing into the league.
They've tried forever to get noticed by the mainstream. In comes Caitlin Clark. Finally, they get noticed. They've tried so long to get paid what they think that they're owed. In comes Caitlin Clark. Owners actually see someone that can make them dollar signs and they say, you know what? We'll compromise with you guys. We'll give $1 million contracts to some max players. Average salaries of over $500,000. Minimum salaries $250,000. We're willing to compromise. But the players believe that they're entitled to more money.
Instead of welcoming this growth, veteran players and union representatives immediately went on the offensive against Clark's fan base. They questioned whether these new supporters were legitimate basketball fans. They suggested Clark's popularity was somehow artificial or undeserved. Union leaders regularly downplayed her impact on attendance and television ratings. They acted like the league's success existed independently of the Indiana phenom drawing sellout crowds every night. The hostility escalated throughout Clark's first season. Commentators noted how the new fans have been pushed away from the jump. The new fans have been called names. There have been investigations on them. They have been shunned by WNBA media. They have been shunned by from WNBA players. The league's most vocal union supporters made it clear that Clark's supporters weren't welcome in their vision of women's basketball. Veterans criticized new fans for not understanding WNBA history. They demanded these supporters prove their loyalty to other players and teams. They created an atmosphere where being excited about Clark's performances somehow disrespected the rest of the league. The gatekeeping reached absurd levels as longtime players lectured newcomers about proper fandom etiquette.
The old guard fans have brainwashed them into thinking that they are entitled into more money. The players are going to be the reason why the WNBA folds. Their ego and their refusal to actually negotiate in good faith.
The union's public relations disasters made everything worse. Their inflatable rat protest outside league offices looked completely unprofessional. Their official statements came across as unhinged, unchecked emotional statement going at the league, going at the owners. They chose confrontation over collaboration at every opportunity. They burned bridges with media members and fans who might have supported their contract demands. Social media backlash against union-supported players intensified as fans watched their favorite sport get torn apart by politics. Engagement numbers dropped for veteran players who criticized Clark and her supporters. New fans started questioning whether they wanted to invest time and money in a league that clearly didn't want them around. Clark herself stayed completely focused on basketball throughout this chaos. She never responded to veteran criticism or union drama. She kept working on her game and supporting her teammates. She let her performance speak for itself while the union leaders created unnecessary controversy around her success.
You look at Caitlin Clark games, you look at Indiana Fever games, and you look at non-Caitlin Clark games. There it is. Said it. Right there. This league has lost momentum, and it's all because of the players. Unwillingness to negotiate, unwillingness to compromise.
The disconnect between demanding higher salaries while insulting the revenue source became impossible to ignore. Union representatives expected Clark's fans to support massive pay increases for players who spent months criticizing those same supporters. They wanted the financial benefits of Clark's popularity without acknowledging her role in creating that success. The union burned their relationship with the exact fan base they now need to fund their contract demands. They alienated the people generating the money they want, distributed as player salaries. They created an environment where supporting the league means choosing between Clark and everyone else. Caitlin Clark just delivered the WNBA's most successful past 2 seasons in WNBA history. Lexi Hull stepped up as a reliable role player who earned her spot through hard work. Aaliyah Boston dominated the paint and proved she belongs among the league's elite centers. Kelsey Mitchell provided veteran leadership while maintaining her scoring prowess. Sophie Cunningham brought energy and toughness that fans absolutely loved. These players represent everything good about the WNBA's future.
The owners have done their part, and as far as I'm concerned, move on without the old guard. Hire whatever attorney you can to make that possible, and just do it. If not, shut it down and spare us the song and dance.
The moratorium freezes all their progress. Clark can't build chemistry with potential new teammates. The Fever can't make roster moves to complement their core group. Hull and Boston lose valuable development time during what should be their peak growth period. Mitchell faces uncertainty about her future with the team that needs her leadership most. The entire organization sits in limbo while union leaders play political games. Clark's professional response to this chaos stands out dramatically. She focuses on her training and development instead of making inflammatory public statements. Her social media stays positive and basketball-focused. She supports her teammates without getting dragged into contract drama. Her measured approach contrasts sharply with the union's confrontational tactics and public relations disasters. The Fever built something special. They found the right mix of young talent and veteran experience. Team chemistry developed throughout the year as players learned their roles. The organization invested in facilities and support staff to maximize player development. Fans packed the arena and created an incredible atmosphere for home games.
Start fresh with players that deserve money and with players that can push the league forward. Caitlin Clark, pay her. Asia, pay her. Sabrina, pay her. Sophie, pay her. Angel Reese, pay her. And let all the old, bitter, old guard players just fade in the background. Go play it Unrivaled. Go dance at Project B. Do whatever you want to do, but you're not allowed here.
Now, all that momentum sits frozen. The team can't add pieces to compete at the highest level. Players lose valuable off-season preparation time. The organization can't plan for 2026 because they don't know what roster rules will exist. Development programs get delayed while lawyers negotiate contract language. Fan engagement suffers as supporters grow frustrated with the endless delays. The union's salary demands actually threaten competitive balance. Massive max contracts would concentrate talent on a few wealthy teams. Small market franchises like Indiana might lose their best players to bidding wars. The Fever's chemistry could get destroyed if star players chase individual paydays elsewhere. Team building becomes impossible when every negotiation gets overshadowed by money discussions. Fan support for Clark and her teammates grows stronger while union approval ratings crash. Social media shows overwhelming backing for the players caught in this mess. Merchandise sales remain strong for Fever players despite league-wide uncertainty. Corporate sponsors continue expressing interest in partnerships with Clark specifically. The disconnect between player popularity and union leadership becomes more obvious every day. These rising stars earned their success through performance and professionalism. They showed up every night and delivered entertainment value that justified higher attendance and television ratings. They handled criticism with class and let their games speak for themselves. They built genuine connections with fans who invested emotionally and financially in their success. The union sacrifices these players' careers for leadership that profits from league failure. Clark deserves better than having her prime years wasted on contract politics. Hull and Boston need stability to reach their potential. Mitchell earned the right to compete for championships instead of watching from the sidelines. The WNBA reached its highest point because of stars like Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, Lexi Hull, Kelsey Mitchell, and Aaliyah Boston. These players delivered the performances that filled arenas and brought millions of new fans to women's basketball. Union leadership chose conflict over collaboration. They prioritized personal business ventures over league success. Fans need to keep supporting Clark and the Fever during this mess. Your ticket purchases and merchandise sales show the league what really matters. Demand better from union leaders who created this chaos. The sport deserves leadership that builds instead of destroys. The 2026 season can still deliver incredible basketball if everyone focuses on the game instead of politics. If the WNBA season is canceled, where do you think Caitlin Clark should play? Let us know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.